I hope everyone is having a good night tonight. Today on the Career Pathways podcast, we have a special guest, Drew Chalberg.
What's going on? It's good to see y'all.
Drew, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Feel free to boast and brag. This is all about you, buddy.
All right. I'm going to try to be a little bit modest here. My name's Drew, from Austin, Texas originally, born and raised, proud to be, Longhorns for life. Came up here for a track scholarship, and in the meanwhile, I had to figure out how I wanted to pay for school, and I know we're going to get into this in the interview. But just kind of wanted to pave my own path here in Arkansas. Moved up here, got my own store going, came to school here, and I've loved it ever since, man.
Okay. So what degree are you currently pursuing here at Lyon College?
Communications degree, and then I have a minor in digital art, which is also both brand new. Very proud of both degrees. Did not think that was going to be my degree moving into college. Planned to be a business major, and I definitely want to do business for grad school. But the communications degree opened up as a junior, so I was like, we're going to take that path and roll with it. As you know, my brother is a communications professor at Arkansas. Was a TA there, so he did his studies there, and so I kind of wanted to follow suit for him. And then we picked up digital art this past semester, and I've been loving it, man. It's been probably my favorite class I've been taking at Lyon, and I can't wait to do more digital art and build up my portfolio in the future.
That's good to hear. So, how's your experience at Lyon College been? Like, deep dive into it, like your connections, the people you met, the professors. Spill it all.
Okay. I mean, to start, man, Lyon is just a really special place, man. It really is. When I was starting the college process, trying to figure out, where I wanted to go to school, what I wanted to do, that sort of thing. My dad and I, we probably visited 30 or 40 schools. I mean, I applied everywhere, and, we were trying to figure out what would be the best fit, man. And I just knew, like, we were probably halfway or 3/4 into the trip when we came here for a visit, and then the next day we went up and went to some Missouri schools and whatnot. And I just knew the second I got on campus here, I was like, this is, gut feeling. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, man. And it's been a blessing ever since. I've loved it. I've made so many friends. School's been great. I mean, I think the professors are one of a kind. They're all super special. They're great. And they really care about us as students. And I think that's what makes Lyon so special. I'm glad I'm going to have those relationships after I graduate here. I mean, don't even get me started on the student body. Cannot tell you how many friends I've made here. I love all the Greek life. They're all great. All the athletes are great. And I mean, just in general, man, it's really a lot of fun to go to class every day and see everybody and, have that experience where 85, 90% of your class is friends that you make outside of school and that you get to learn and grow with. And most of all, it's been really special to see everybody else, come in as freshmen being kind of timid. And then by their senior year, they've kind of dug their own hole and figured out, where they're going to be in this big community, and that's been really special to see that growth. But to kind of go in on to myself, man, Lyon is special, man. I've really enjoyed, all aspects of it. But I've definitely been around, definitely done lots of things on campus. I was a tour guide for some time. That was a lot of fun. I got to commentate a lot of the sporting events, so basketball, volleyball, baseball, softball, you name it. I worked those games, and that was pretty fun. That kind of got me into the communications department a little bit, and that was a lot of fun. I will say, though, probably the most fun organization I've been a part of, and I'm glad that it's blossomed into this, is doing my radio show. That never thought I'd have that opportunity, never saw myself as a radio show host, and 2 years later, retro radio is booming. It's been super popular here on campus, and I'm glad to carry that on after college.
Nice. So you said you were from Texas. Now, as an Arkansas native, I'm cool with the small, in the middle of nowhere college. How, for you, has it been such a culture shock, and how have you adapted to being in the middle of nowhere, having a small college?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. Coming from Austin, I mean, Austin's such a different place now, but I mean, Austin's got like 1 million people, and coming here was definitely a culture shock. It definitely helped give me that kind of I guess the first step into moving to Arkansas with my brother being here. That made it really easy. I kind of got an idea as to what I could expect a little bit. But I mean, in a lot of ways, it was a culture shock. I mean, coming up here, obviously living on my own, being my own person, trying to be my own adult, and challenging myself with school, with athletics, with church. I mean, he kept me busy, and there was a lot of things that it was like a first time for everything. There's a lot of things I had to try to teach myself how to do. Had to, change tires, have to go do car maintenance, have to go pay bills, have to get my own apartment. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that I've been kind of adjust to, and with that, I mean, definitely small city living. I mean, Batesville's a wonderful community. I love all the people here, but it is kind of hard not to have a Target right down the street that you can go to, or if you need electronics, go to Best Buy or what have you. But I think that's what makes it special. I know definitely with my business, it's been really nice to really like dive into the community and make those relationships. And then when you're doing things around town, when there's like events and stuff, all the shop owners, they know you, and you really build those relationships, and that's been really nice on a professional note to have those kind of relationships and be able to be recognized around town and kind of have that footprint. That's been pretty cool.
So you keep hinting at your business. Tell us exactly what your business is and what all you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So proud owner, CEO and founder of Varsity Vintage. Shout out to the Instagram. Go follow it. I run a vintage resale store, and we sell all kinds of stuff: comics, action figures, vintage clothing, records. A big record seller. You name it. It really just sprouted from things I collected as a child. My mom and I used to go to yard sales and stuff all the time, and I was a big nerd growing up, so I'd collect all kinds of stuff. And one day it just started really piling up, and I figured out that I really got a knack for it, and so I just decided to start selling it. And in high school, I would flip shoes and vintage clothes and stuff, and it was on a much smaller note, but I figured out I could make a lot of money doing that. It just kind of sprouted from there. It's funny how we got here, because so in middle school I was transferring to a different high school. It was inner city, was way across town, but my basketball coach was the high school coach there for my private team. And it was a way different environment, and I got introduced to so many different things. And with that, vintage clothing was something that I picked up, and like I said, I took that here, and I noticed that there was a need for it in Batesville, and I just ran with it. Yeah.
Okay, so what is so special about vintage things? Like, you could go out and buy something brand new, or you can buy the exact same replica but in pristine condition. What is the need for vintage items?
I think it always goes down to the story. Whatever item it is, every single item that you get, there's always a unique story of how you got it, how it's how it is in the condition that it is, and where it's come from. And for me, especially with what I collect personally, which is band tees. I love collecting old concert shirts and stuff from way back when, and I think that's pretty special, because you find those dates of where those concerts were, and you're like, man, I just wonder what person picked up this T-shirt 30, 40 years ago and wore it to those concerts, and wore it for 20 years and donated it because they didn't fit it anymore. And then here I am picking it up and wearing it myself. I always thought that was pretty cool, and that's just with T-shirts, but I mean with any product, whether it's action figures or or comics, whatever it is. There was an owner that collected it, that cherished it, that appreciated it, and kept it in the condition that it was. And when you get to hold on to it, it's almost like a rite of passage, because you got to make sure that it stays in that condition and that you can share that love with somebody else down the line. And I really appreciate it, and I definitely stand on the fact that things are not made like they used to be. And there's nothing better than old cotton shirts. There's nothing better than old records, and action figures will never be the same as they were as a kid. So a little bit is nostalgia, a little bit is just I'm appreciating what I grew up with, but a lot of it is I'm just trying to keep that history alive and hopefully pass that on to the next people. But yeah.
Speaking on vinyl records, there has been a shift where upcoming artists have started to put their music on vinyls as well. It went from CDs to Apple Music, and now it's back on vinyl records. How
Right,
do you feel
right.
about that? Do you feel like it's doing vinyl records a justice or not?
I think it's great, for the culture as a whole. I have also mixed opinions about how vintage clothes are kind of coming back. With that, just like every manufacturer, they're gonna make new records, they're gonna make new clothes, and I think from the artist standpoint for records, I think it's great because it really immerses them in the same culture and ideology as all these other artists. To be able to say, "Oh, I have a record in the same." Store as all these artists that came before me, and I think that's really special for them. I think that kind of, at least in my eyes, if you have a big selling record, you've made it, and I think that goes, that goes a long way. And for artists, I mean, for the past 100 years, that's how it's been. It's only been the last 20 years that radio streams and Spotify streams and Apple Music streams have really determined how successful an artist is. And I'm glad to see the resurgence. I think it's getting people to appreciate records more. I think that it's building the need for it, especially. I know I'm selling records faster than ever now, and it's helping people rediscover old music. And I think in that way, it is a great thing. But it also, I don't know, it kind of takes away from the nostalgia. It also, kind of takes away from the aura of collecting is, when you can just find a repurposed record of an old artist. It's not the same as finding the original, like I said, because that original one has a story. Someone appreciated it. And I don't know, it's not really the same as just picking up a new one at Target. But that being said, I am happy about the resurgence. I think it's good for the community, and I think record stores are going to come back and be a big thing. And I'm glad that that physical music is continuing to be a thing because in this day and age everything's just moving online, and I'm glad something is keeping root for sure.
So since this is a pathways podcast, and you're an entrepreneur yourself, with your field of work, do you believe that it's a growing business, is a booming business, or do you think it's starting to become a diminishing one?
Good question. Like all things, I think it has trends, and at least for the vintage clothes aspect, I think it really hit a peak trend and probably right close to the pandemic. I know more than ever, like I said, people are reproducing old hats and old shirts and old logos and kind of repurposing that. And for my business, I think that that time was 4 or 5 years ago, and I have seen a little bit of it diminish. But one thing that I've noticed is that throughout time, those styles, those interests have continued to keep up, and I think that will continue on forever. I think there will always be a demand for team gear or old T-shirts, old band tees, records, comics, etc. But I do think that the times of it being super popular and being very mainstream, I think that's starting to fade away a little bit. But I know that, like I said, especially for this community that I've targeted, we got lots of college kids here, and that's been really easy to kind of source, at least on my personal basis, because everybody needs clothes to wear, and so that's been really easy for me to target high schoolers, target college kids in the area, target other college kids at other schools, and trying to market that hey, you don't have to drive to Little Rock or Jonesboro to get old band tees or old sports gear or comics or whatever. You can just pick them up in town, and I think that's been good, and that's been a pretty big business for me. It's been making me lots of money and helping me pay for school, and that's been nice. But as a whole, I definitely have seen a decline a little bit in in gear, and so that makes me sad. But hopefully there will be another resurgence again soon.
So you tell me, Drew Chalberg, how has Lyon College prepped you and has continued to prep you for your work and your business?
Oh, great question. Okay. I always preach that, college is what you make it. And I think that with all the experiences that I've had at college, whether that was, relationships I've had with friends and professors or experiences I've had working, there's just been a lot I've learned. If you wanted to get into the vintage business in Austin, it takes all kinds of funding and resources. And thankfully here I've been able to build, from the very ground and build up. And when I say that, I mean the bottom of the bottom. And so that's been nice because I'm just another college kid, so I didn't have a whole lot of funding to get into that sort of business, and it's been nice to really build those necessary tools to grow that a little bit. But Lyon's done a lot to help prepare me, and I know they do it for a lot of students, given opportunities like this, doing opportunities to really further your career. I know. Especially when we have those events in the gym with everyone that comes from other businesses in town, and you really get to build your portfolio and get to know some people. I know that's been really good for me, especially sourcing my business and like I said, building customers. And like I said, it just so happened that my niche was the college student body, and we have a lot of that here. So it's been nice to kind of utilize Lyon in that way. That like I said, we got 500 kids that need clothes, and I've been able to help source that. So it's been good. But in terms of skills, though, I mean, communications department has been great for me. Taking those classes, learning to articulate, learning to be able to have conversations and present yourself. The business classes, learning how to check my records, check my books, make sure that I'm being successful financially. My digital art classes, learning how to design my logos and keeping up with my social media pages and making art. I mean, I can't tell you how valuable those skills have been, and I think that's going to carry a long way in my career.
So to shift gears a little bit, talking about your sourcing and your reselling, give us a story. Immerse us in Drew. What is a funny, crazy, sad, dramatic story or experience that you had with either reselling or sourcing, anything?
Okay, I'll give you a couple here. I'll tell you my best find, and I always talk about it. Most people don't know this about me because you catch me during the week. I'm usually wearing cowboy boots. It's not my thing anymore. But for a time, I was a really big sneaker collector, and I knew every shoe that was coming out. I knew every release. I knew the date of every shoe that had released. I knew every colorway, and that was my thing. And in college, in high school, that's how I paid for everything I did. That was my summer job, was selling shoes. And excuse me. And the best find I ever had, years before they got re-released in 2019, the cool gray 4s, and I'll show you a photo after we're done here. But one of the coolest shoes, in my opinion, of all time in terms of Jordans. And probably you're going for 400 or 500 at the time. And I walked into the thrift one day, as I visited every day with my buddies, and we found a pair. And of course, when you find them at resale stores, you gotta legit check them. And like I said, I kind of got immersed in that culture at my high school, and it kind of helped prepare me for that. And so I did some sourcing online, had to figure out if they were real or not. And within the week, I sold them, and I probably bought those for $6 or $7, and I sold them for like $5.75 used, and that was for high school. That was a pretty big come up for me. I know I was spending Fridays eating lunch out with my friends for a long time on that money. So that was a good find, and to this day, I still talk about how lucky that was to come upon that kind of find. But if we're going to talk about the best moments, we got to talk about the worst moments.
Of course.
And my nightmare sale, and it still haunts me to this day. Years ago, I went to a garage sale with my mom, and the neighbors up the street were selling Pokemon cards. And at the time, Pokemon was huge as it is. And I was a big collector, but I wasn't super passionate about it, as I needed all the rare cards as the kids do today. I just wanted to collect. And one of the older teenagers there, his mom had got all those cards together, and we're selling them before he went off to college. And I remember I specifically bought 4 or 5 of the original Japanese release before they got released in America, first gen starter pack cards. And so I had Blastoise, I had Venusaur, and I had Charizard, all original release. And they were all mint condition in their little card pack protectors, and they weren't graded. But a couple years went by, and a buddy of mine, I needed some money, and I was a little kid at that time, and $20 seemed like a lot of money, so I sold him sold them those 3 cards for $20. And if you were to source those today, we'd probably look at 1,200 for those 3 cards alone. And I
Oh
mean,
wow.
there was some other ones that were pretty rare in that collection too. That I know he flipped for a lot of money. So still gives me a hard time about it. Still haunts me to this day. And especially even at college, I get reminded, there's still collectors here. And I always talk about what could have been, because if I still had those, I could be paying off some student loans right now. So that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So with that, like, what are some struggles that you face as being an entrepreneur through your business, through you could do life, through school, through business, through just anything? What are some challenges you face?
Absolutely. I think with any business, it takes money to make money. One thing for me was really sourcing that and being able to set aside enough to be professional and enough to build my business and continue to grow. And with college, that's been difficult. It's been hard to really maintain positive growth over time. But as any business, it's going to fluctuate, and that's okay. But for 4 or 5 months here and there, I'll be doing really great, and then I'll have some months that I'll lose money, and I'll think, well, this might be the end of it, and then the next month I'll have a really great great month of sales, and I'll be right back in it again. But I think one thing that I've definitely struggled with was just making sure there's enough money to side to support the business, and even as sourcing something as little as thrifted clothes, because as that's it's a really affordable market. I can pick up items for a couple of dollars and sell them for 10 or 20 times of what I spent on them. And that's a great feeling. But with that, you have to have a lot of product to be able to make money consistently, and that's been hard for me to be able to provide that income along with paying for rent, along with paying for school. It's been difficult to kind of maintain that a little bit. Excuse me. So with that, that's been a challenge. I also think, sourcing my business, it's been really easy to get out in the community and, advertise it to friends and advertise it to professors and people in the community and collectors in the area. And thankfully, Batesville is very built for that kind of business. It's been nice to have those kind of collectors in town that can appreciate it. But that being said, though, it's been hard to source customers, and it's been hard to source repetitive customers, and it's been hard to source customers that are willing to pay the price that I want. Because it's nice having a lot of friends, but when you give friend discounts to everyone, it doesn't pay the bills. So that's been hard for me. It's been difficult to kind of differentiate between having a professional relationship with customers and having a friendship with customers. But thankfully, Vintage Clothes is a business that you can kind of have both, and it works out well. But that's been one thing I've struggled with, is just trying to build a portfolio of customers that can support my business financially, that are repetitive, that I can continue to outsource good product for. Because with Vintage Clothes, like I said, sometimes you can find the best things, and sometimes it'll be weeks before you find something good, and that's been hard to maintain, especially in the environment that we are in. Being in Batesville, we might have 4 or 5 thrift stores in town, but for the larger businesses, they'll sell 30 or 40 shirts a day, and I may be finding 3 or 4 a day, and so it's pretty hard to source on that big of a level. And so it definitely helps to be in a bigger environment, like a bigger city, to kind of grow that sort of business. But yeah.
So you talk about the need for other sellers, other sources.
Mhm.
What separates you from everybody else? Why would I go to Drew Chalberg instead of Michael down the street?
Yeah. I'll tell you why you need to visit Varsity Vintage. I think with that, I just talked about relationships with customers. I think it really just boils down to that. I'm always big about building customers, building relationships over building money. And of course, as I mentioned, that is a bit of an inhibitor sometimes. But I'm all for giving people good deals, and and just trying to build relationships and share those connections. And if someone else is sharing the same passion for me for a product, I don't care how much money I make on it. At the end of the day, I'm glad that that person's gonna appreciate that item the same way that I did. And that's what keeps me in the business. That's what makes me happy knowing that other people can appreciate the same things that I do. And I've been grateful to find that in the community, and it's been nice to find other sellers that kind of continue to keep that relationship. But that's one thing that I think that differentiates me from other people is that I try to be friendly with everybody. I try to give everybody good deals, and like I said, just trying to provide for the community, outsource, do what I can to provide and help out when I can. And I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it just to continue those like I said, those lifespans for those items that otherwise would be lost. And that's what makes me happy. I'm glad that I can keep history going a little longer, for sure.
Moving forward, what is a goal that you have set aside for yourself with your business that you would like to achieve?
Oh, great question. With the step that I'm in now, approaching senior year, about to graduate, I think my next step, it's really going to be a build or break moment for my business, especially moving with grad school. I think it's going to look really great for my grad school portfolio that I've run a business for this long. But obviously, I don't know where grad school is going to take me, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue to keep that business, at least in a physical standpoint, wherever I go to next. But I'm hoping I can find somewhere that I can lease and continue to pursue that on the side as well as my academic studies. But I definitely need to prioritize those a little bit. So we'll see. I definitely have found it to be really easy and a lot of fun to do big events, swap meets and stuff. And thankfully, you don't necessarily need a physical store to participate in those. And so, maybe I'll shift and kind of market towards those a little bit rather than just selling out of a physical storefront. But I definitely will have to make that shift in the future. But a goal, needless to say, is definitely just to continue to grow it. Right now, we're probably looking at about 500 followers, and I'd like to hit 2 or 3K within the next year or two. Just continue to outsource and find other people in the community, find other people in the state, find other people nationwide that are passionate about the same things that I am, and can appreciate the content that I make and the product that I sell, for sure.
So Drew, I want to say thank you. Absolutely. I really enjoyed this discussion and learning more about you.
Absolutely.
Having the audience learn more about you. To end it off, what advice would you give any upcoming business entrepreneurs and the younger generation?
Great question. First, I want to say thanks for having me on, man. It's been a lot of fun. I'm happy to represent anytime I can, and like I said, I urge everybody to visit Varsity Vintage. I'm always trying to put out my business anytime I can. But yeah, advice, man. That's a good question. Just be passionate. I think that's the one thing I've learned. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's not worth it. Whether that applies to anything that you're doing, whether that's work, whether that's relationships, whether that's college. Be passionate about what you're doing. Find something that you enjoy. Find something that you know is your calling, and pursue it and really dive into it. That's the one thing that life and Lyon has really taught me, is that you can really do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it. And like I said, with that, stay in it. I know it's not an easy road. College is not easy. Life isn't easy. But at the end of the day, it is worth it. And just gotta remind yourself to just be passionate and remind yourself what you're doing it for, and stay motivated.
Yes, sir. And with that, wish everyone a good night. Thank you, Drew.
Absolutely.
This broadcast is sponsored in part by Lyon College and by KILT Studios.